Let's go to Vienna and speak to our correspondent, Anthony Mills. So, Anthony, the so-called Ibiza Gate video that led to the collapse of his coalition now bringing Kurz down too.
That's right. That's where it all began, when that secret covert video exploded onto the Austrian political scene a week and a half ago or so. And it showed the vice chancellor, still then, the former leader of the far-right Freedom Party, Heinz Christian Strache, apparently open to bartering away state contracts in return for funding for his political party, which he believed might be coming from a Russian oligarch. And when that exploded onto the scene, he resigned. And according to the far-right Freedom Party, at least, they thought that that was enough to allow the coalition government to continue functioning. As it turns out, it wasn't. And all of the far-right ministers resigned. They were replaced by technocrats, as you say. And then today, the no confidence vote being put forward not by the far-right Freedom Party, but by the Social Democrats, who say that Sebastian Kurz has in effect wrecked the country politically because he recklessly brought the far-right Freedom Party into power and paved the way in a sort of a manner for this scandal. And then, of course, the far-right Freedom Party is supporting it too, saying they've lost trust in the Chancellor. They say that the government could have been saved and that it was his narrow, power-hungry politics, in their words, that led to the demise of the government. And so far-right Freedom Party joining forces with their political foes, the Social Democrats, to bring down the Chancellor of Austria. And that's something that's unprecedented. Hasn't occurred in Austria's post-Second World War politics. There have been plenty of no confidence votes, but this is the first time not just a Chancellor, but in fact his whole government has been brought down by one.
So what happens now, Anthony?
Well, as a formality, the president will, in effect, the president of Austria will, in effect, dismiss the government, expected still today. And then it is his role, his task, to put in place a caretaker chancellor and caretaker ministers. Now, he will get the input from the various parties in parliament because the caretaker government has to get a majority in parliament. It has to be supported by parliament. But he takes on the key role. And as I say, will not be Chancellor Sebastian Kurz, I should say now almost ex-Chancellor Sebastian Kurz, nor any of his ministers. It's widely expected that the figure who will be implemented by the president will be someone highly respected, an expert, possibly a former head of the country's constitutional court. Nothing has been decided yet, but someone who it is believed commands the respect of all the parties and indeed the population, because polls indicated that the majority of Austrians actually didn't want the government to fall.
And Anthony, it's interesting to note that Kurz has been ousted despite a surge in support for his Conservative Party in the European Parliament elections.
That's right. On the face of it, a contradiction in terms almost. Sebastian Kurz, at the head of his ÖVP party, Conservative Party, managing to increase the share of the vote on Sunday in the European elections. And indeed, he remains widely popular in Austria. His party remains widely popular. It's even gained a few percentage points here, if polls are believed to be believed, following the collapse of his government. But at the same time, the far-right Freedom Party hasn't lost that much. It's lost 2 or 3 percentage points, according to polls. The Social Democrats are pretty much stagnant, and everybody's really in campaigning mode because, of course, Sebastian Kurz called early elections. They're expected in September or so, and the political parties, despite the outcome of those elections showing an increase in the vote share for Sebastian Kurz's party, and despite the fact that he declared that a victory for his party, all eyes are on those early elections coming up in September. And there the battle lines are drawn. The far-right Freedom Party wants to capitalize on anger within its ranks. It wants to preserve its core voter groupings, and it wants to present itself as a foe now to Sebastian Kurz, saying that in actual fact he was something of a sheep in wolves' clothing. They've even suggested that already the hard line that their interior minister had adopted on migration legislation is being rolled back. So battle lines very clearly drawn there. And as for the Social Democrats, they had a mediocre showing in the European elections. They made no gains. In fact, they lost marginally. Nationally, they're also polling well behind Sebastian Kurz's Conservative Party. So they're going to be trying to build up momentum in the coming months up until those early elections in September. And meanwhile, the country reeling almost from the shock of this political development, because, as I say, it really is a first for Austria in the post-Second World War political scene. And a majority of the population were fearful almost, I suppose, of the instability that could come from the fall of Sebastian Kurz and his government, even if in the interim chancellor is someone who's widely respected and someone with a history of balance and is accepted by the various political parties. But this really is uncharted territory for Austria.
All right. Well, thank you.